Okay, good morning. This is Shar back from Scrapstorian here. I am going to go through the final finished product of my scrapbook for our trip to Scotland in 2013. I've been working on this bad boy a long time, so I'm just going to flip through some of the pages that I'd gone through in the first video when I started this. I haven't changed much. I've added in a couple of little things here and there, but nothing that would make a huge difference to the overall look or the layouts. And as you can see, as you progressively go through the book, I did start getting a little more creative on how to add more photos, how to hide some journaling or to add some journaling in various spots without compromising space or number of pages, because you were limited being that this was a bounded book. I couldn't just add in. I had a lot of fun with this book, a lot of fun with the journaling, and I'm actually out in Vancouver at my sister's house this weekend, and I brought this thing out and I journaled the last couple of days while sitting at the table, so that if I had forgotten anything or wanted to talk about anything to add in some of the details, B was here and we could fill in the blanks. So I did a ton of journaling this past weekend. So this is actually the page I left off on. You can see I've added in the journaling there. I've kept some of my journal pages from the actual trip throughout the book as well. And I've also added, or basically tied in, really, some inserts, literally speaking, so that I could add more pages, which means more photos, to that day without having to use up more pages in the album, because you are limited. So again, here is some more inserts. So there's quite a few in this page alone, but there was a lot of pictures on this day. It was a fun day. And these here are places where you could journal. I use them as titles because a lot of my journaling was done on those. But if you wanted to add more, if I ever go back and want to add more, the opportunities are there with these peekaboo journal cards. So that is quite a bit of tied in inserts. But there's a ton of pictures on here that gave me the ability to add more into that day. Moving along, I've repeated that process and kind of done a smash up of some of the information that was available in our guidebook, along with lots of journaling spots on this one. This was a day, probably the funnest day I've ever had in my life. We had such a blast at the castle that I wanted to journal all that was going on that day. So I've left a lot of opportunity to do that within these pages. And again, I'm adding in inserts, and the inserts have flaps on them as well. So this was again tied in, as you can see. So adding 2 pages, which has 1, 2, 3, 4 surfaces for pictures within 2-page spread. Then we get to the Urquhart Castle, which was one of my favorite moments, and I wanted every picture I could have. So going way back in some of the techniques, I have added a 4-page insert here. So this is basically the title page, and then these open up, and here is the 4 pages worth of pictures. And within these 4 pages, I still definitely have flaps and journaling moments, journaling peekaboos, and then it just closes in like this. So that's an amazing amount. So if you think about that, 6 pages within a 2-page spread. And even here's some journaling as well. Moving along, a couple more inserts, heading towards our last day. And again, just finding different ways to do some journaling spots. These are great little journaling pockets. They are from Close to My Heart. I'm not sure if they have them anymore. They're, like I said, I've started this a long time ago and I've had a lot of my material saved up to use. But those are great. And getting to the very end. So this one here, because of the idea of what was happening here, I wanted to keep the pictures much intact because they tell their own story, plus journals. So that's what I've done here. And then my very last page, I kind of wanted to recap. So I've been hanging on to this. This is a small map out of our guidebook. And I added in a few of the key pictures that I really liked from the entire trip and placed them all around. So it kind of gives just, here's our trip in a nutshell. Here's our trip in 1 page, and here's the highlights, some of the highlights that we did. Then on the very back page, I also added in the map So you can see, so gluing the back, that's our finished, and our start is down here, and this you can actually remove, so you could go through the entire trip if you wanted to. The maps that they provide for these, or the guidebooks that they provide for these from Contours, is amazing. Then my title page, which is always my very last page, is one of my most favorite pictures. I did an 8x8, and I also added in the Scotland flag, Great Glen Way, how many kilometers, and then also on the opposite side I put a pocket page which had I put some of my journaling pages from the actual journal I wrote while I was there, and then a card that my sister had sent with a calendar a couple of years after our trip. And then to finish it off, I had to do the outside, because when I bought this book was plain outside and then plain white pages on the inside. So it just so happened that my sister had made a burlap flag and did not have a use for it. She went a different direction on her album. So I was lucky enough to be able to utilize it. So all I did was basically roughly gessoed the back page, the outside back page, giving it some texture. Then I glued on the burlap as is, frayed the edges a little bit where I could without wrecking the overall look of it. And then once it was glued down and dried, we Mod Podged it from end to end. And that's the title page. So the entire book is quite thick. There's a lot of 3D embellishments, and with the inserts and the flaps and stuff, it does make it quite thick. So what my plan will be is to use some type of leather tie and to tie around it, almost like an old-fashioned travel journal, and then put it on the shelf. So that is finally my finished ginormous travel journal of our trip to Scotland in 2013. Thanks so much for stopping by. Have a great day.